All right, y'all. Today we're taking a look at this boudoir photography business. We're gonna check its local and city searches and see if they got BSS for any of them. So we're back here in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. And more on this, pinned video, home video, somewhere around here. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got our FSIC graph in white here. Highest intent people on the left. These are the peeps searching literally today for boudoir photo shoot in their city. We focus on those peeps here with our BSS videos about BSS because these are highest intent, easiest to convert, closest to the money people. Over on the right, our lowest intent people. We talk about those with our sister brand of Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where we talk about BLCS. And currently over there, we only work with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand per month in boudoir Facebook ads. Now, BSS means boudoir search sameness. That means a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google. 0 slots on page 1 on Google means obviously, they're on page 2 or deeper, somewhere deeper. And we care about this because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never ever even hit page 2. They're page 1 and done searches, that's it. Which means if we're on page 2, we're invisible to approximately 80% of the market. And 1 slot on page 1 on Google, that ain't good either because, there's 10 organic slots page 1 on Google. If 9 other boudoir photographers each have 1 slot, everyone's looking the same, everyone's got 1 slot. We're not saying that, we're basically invisible. And guess what? A boudoir photographer or a boudoir buyer, their behavior is going to be just clicking through everyone on page 1. Well, approximately 80% of the boudoir buyers, they're only going to be clicking through everyone on page 1. They'll never go to page 2. And they'll be comparing everyone on page 1. And as a result, they will, filling out everyone's contact form, getting price quotes, negotiating, pulling down the price, asking for more. It's kind of annoying to deal with, to run a business that way. And most of them won't even go with us. So it's like, man, what's even the point? Now, 0 1 slots on page 1 of Google is actually not normal. It is a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. And those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, the number one thing there is, well, basically everyone knows this. This is more boudoir photographers entering the market over time. Just simply as people upgrade their gear, kind of like get a new iPhone, get a new camera. This just naturally happens. Then eventually they throw up their Google My Business profile saying they're a boudoir photographer. Have got their website ranking on page 1 on Google, are competing to, saying they shoot boudoir photography. They are also increasingly posting in the mom groups on Facebook that that they now offer boudoir photo shoots. And a big market saturation time of COVID, tons of people lost their jobs, so they earn money. Everyone's got a super powered smartphone with awesome camera. Tons of people became boudoir photographers in that time. Now, the false belief of page 1 equality, this is the new one that very few people know about. So what this is actually, a lot of boudoir photographers have kind of assumed or accepted that every boudoir photographer gets either 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google. And it's kind of like, yeah, whether Google wants to give you that slot, yes or no. And maybe you're on, slot 7, page 1, slot 7. Then some market saturation happened. Now you're on page 2, slot 2. And a lot of boudoir photographers are like, oh, well, I hope those new peeps, delete their website and Google de-indexes them. So maybe Google will bring me back up onto page 1. But no, this is 100% incorrect. This is the wrong way to think about it, because what we have learned and we have the data to show is Google will actually give us as many page 1 slots on Google as we want, and we actually do put in the effort to acquire. And I know this because I went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google in only 10 days with this new methodology we discovered. So that's how we know the false belief of page 1 equality is exactly that, a false belief. Now, boudoir photographer with BSS, boudoir search sameness, is a disappearing boudoir photographer, a DBP. Again, if you're on, we got 0 slots page 1 Google search, that means we're page 2 or deeper, we're invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace. If we got 1 slot page 1 on Google, we're looking the same as the other 9 competitors that are on there for a total of 10 slots. We're still invisible, we're still disappearing, we're slowly dying. So both these scenarios, it's kind of the canary in the coal mine, kind of the warning light, the red flag that's telling us our boudoir photography business itself is now on its way to disappearing. But thankfully, we now have a solution. We've discovered that BSS is actually treated with social search saturation, aka our S-cubed methodology. And we know this because we invented it. That's how we went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google in only 10 days. We'll see that data here. I don't know, like 4 or 5 more pictures. Now, S-cubed methodology, the way it works, it's exactly in the name. We saturate social search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords, so we show up them there for those. And this is kind of like, when we do this, it's kind of like the snow at the top of the Andes Mountains down in South America on the eastern side, the backside. Snow back there. What eventually happens is that snow melts, small streams, small rivers, and guess what? It all flows into the Amazon River. That Amazon River is Google page 1. But to get all that water there, first got to be snow at the top of the mountains. So saturating social search, that's our snow. That's where everything begins. That's the input we care about, our S-cubed methodology. Everything flows from successfully executing S-cubed methodology correctly. And the interesting thing about this is the only solution I've seen for boudoir photographers that actually enables them, that gives them a chance for their business to continue to grow, even in the face of market saturation, and even if they don't have a large, well-known brand, and to do all this give them this opportunity in a relatively quick time frame. The only other shot would obviously to have a large, well-known brand to compete against market saturation. But dude, that takes 5 to 10 years. We ain't got that time. We got AI taking people's jobs. We don't have time. We don't have 5 to 10 years to build a large, well-known brand. What's actually interesting is utilizing S-cubed methodology. My estimates is it will actually speed up the process of creating a large, well-known brand in an area by approximately 8x, because it'll be seen with such a much higher frequency across so many more platforms. That's my estimates. It's kind of like a secondary benefit of utilizing this technology. So now an example. All right, so right now we're going to Phoenix, and there are currently 1 million boudoir photographers in Phoenix. We are one of them. Since we don't have a large, well-known brand, then the only way we can, everyone's got their websites and their boudoir photographer competing page 1 Google search. So since nobody's got any of those since there's so many competitors, we realize, all right, we got to use S-cubed methodology to get out of this mess. Let's say we crank it up to the max. Let's say we're ranked for the first 300 slots across all of social search for the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords. And let's say that flows out onto Google. And we're taking up the first 300 organic slots on Google. And we know it's 10 organic slots per page on Google. And so as a result, we're taking up literally the first 30 pages. And we are basically, for any boudoir buyer to find any of our competitors, they got to scroll down to slot 301. And on Google, that's page 31. I mean, who's doing that? Basically no one. So when any boudoir buyer is actually searching for, any boudoir photo shoot in our city or any high intent boudoir buyer keyword in our city, we're basically the only ones showing up. And as a result, we, whose business is growing? Most likely ours. Whose business is dying, fading, disappearing? Most likely the other 999,999 boudoir photographers that buyers really can't even find them because we're saturating all the surfaces where they could be found. So this is kind of a ultra extreme example of what S-cubed methodology can enable for a boudoir photography business. Now, once you're with S-cubed methodology, we have page 1 visibility, P1V. Yeah, we get our initial benefit, more slots page 1 on Google. But our second initial benefit of every new slot we get page 1 on Google, we actually get, we're actually kicking our competing boudoir photographers in our city off that page. And we effectively make them invisible because now they're on page 2 or deeper, and we already know approximately 80% of Google searches are page 1 only searches. So we can basically choose to make our competitors disappear and put their business on the path of disappearing, depending on how much effort we want to put into acquiring all these slots. Now, page 1 visibility actually, it's boudoir search visibility for us, BSV. So this is where the GPC universe has a recommended minimum of having minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page 1 Google search That's because all the other boudoir photographers will basically have one slot, so we're going to be dominating them for buyers scrolling page one. And on the ultra rare case, someone has two slots, we're going to be dominating them as well because we have three. We also know the boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer, VBP. So we got our full, basically our full kind of got our full micro universe here. We got a disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page one equality, the false belief page one equality. We can now solve it with S-cubed methodology. We achieve page one visibility. We become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. Just our kind of our micro universe here. And now we're gonna look at my results. So the results that I got, purely using S-cubed methodology. So I want to dominate rank for this keyword, BLCS boudoir. I want to dominate page one Google search. And let's see the results I got with it. So we're getting slot one, Instagram, me. Slot two, me. Slot three, me. Slot four, me. Slot five, me. Slot six, me. Slot seven, me. Slot eight, me. And slot 10, me. So the best thing about this is from 0 to 10 slots page one Google search to 9 out of 10 slots page one Google search in only 10 days, purely utilizing S-cubed methodology. All right, now main event here, we're going to check this boudoir photography business. We're going to check out its local search and its city search. See if they got BSS for either local or their city search, and also see if they're hitting the GBC recommended minimums, 3 out of 10 slots for each. So we're going to Hampton, Virginia, and Newport News, Virginia. All right, let's head over there now. Hampton, Virginia, just no data. All right, so let's see what we got. Go to organic. So boom, we got one. Let's see what else. Let's see. All right, so we got one. So we got 1 out of 10 for local. Yeah. All right, so 1 out of 10 for local. And now let's check city. Let's see. And 1 out of 10 for city. All right, so for both. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 for both. And so that means we got BSS for both of them. And we're not hitting the GBC recommended minimum. 3 out of 10 slots, page one Google search for either of them. So if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, meaning you've done your local searches, your city searches with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords in your city, and you have seen you've had BSS for at least one of them. So, you're at 0 or 1 slots, page one Google search for, those terms, or at least one of those terms. Or you're not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page one Google search for any of the local or city searches, any of those keyword highest intent boudoir buyer keyword searches. And you've accepted the false belief of page one equality is exactly that, a false belief. So you're seeing, hey, I can actually take as many page one slots on Google search as I want for as many keywords as I want. And I don't have to sit around and wait and hope Google, people leave the market and Google is nice enough to put me on page one. And you're seeing that S-cubed methodology is the only way to get you there, actually get you those extra slots page one in Google. And you're liking the initial benefits, more slots page one in Google. You really like the second initial benefit, which is basically kicking your competitors off. You're basically getting to decide who becomes a disappearing boudoir photographer and whose business, boudoir photography business, starts to disappear by dominating page one Google search. You also understand market saturation, and you are, people eventually get more gear, the market becomes more saturated, and as a result, you are looking ahead, saying, man, AI is taking people's jobs right now. AI is going to be taking more and more people's jobs into the future as AI gets better and better. And you're like, man, I don't simply need these links on Google, page one Google. I actually have to fortify my page one position. So no current boudoir photographers in my area can ever rank page one. And also no future boudoir photographers that come from AI taking their jobs can ever rank page one. Basically, I need to have so many links of my links Google wants to rank on page one that they're actually backstacking me to page 2, 3, and 4. And you're actually deciding that the best way to get all these links, again, S cubed methodology, get all these backstack of links on all these future pages, and really actually fortify your position, kind of like the levees in Nolens, Louisiana. It's kind of fortifying the walls against the ocean because the city is below water. So using S cubed methodology is the only solution for that. And you want to achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, have boudoir search visibility because you need these things on your way to becoming the #1 boudoir photographer in your city. And you're also liking the future benefits of S cubed methodology, or basically you understand that as we execute S cubed methodology successfully every single day, we're building up these invisible thematic keyword columns that are like plugged into your kind of like your cluster, your brand name, your business name, your social handles names, kind of like plugging these invisible thematic keyword columns in. And every day we build that up, we're increasing the probability that you are the one recommended up here, the AI overview and search, because you're just building up so much authority, repetition, relevance, age, with all these different keywords, the size, intent, boudoir buyer keywords. And so you actually want, you want that increased probability percentage every day of being recommended here, because it also comes with increased probability of being recommended through all the AI searches, all the AI search apps. We're building up this like massive backend AI keyword search momentum. It's invisible, but every day it builds and builds and builds. And so that's ChatGPT, that is Claude, Perplexity, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini. These are getting more and more popular every single day, increasing search volume every single day, with Google standard search, basically decreasing every single day. And last time I did boudoir photographer search in a city, I used ChatGPT, it returned me 3. I actually did a manual search with Google and Facebook, and dude, I found like 60. So it's like, man, we gotta find any way possible to get AI search to recommend us, and you realize an S cubed methodology is the best way to get these invisible thematic keyword columns built around your brand, your business, your names, all that. You're also like the future benefit of, kind of building your large, well-known brand in your area, making it harder for market saturation to ever affect you approximately 8x faster, utilizing S cubed methodology. And you also understand my current plan is to only work with one boudoir photographer for your city. So you actually you get all these benefits, kicking your competitors off page one, and your competitors actually not being able to use these benefits, and you actually build up a large, massive gap in front of them, ahead of them, with these invisible thematic keyword columns, kind of this keyword backend AI keyword mindshare momentum that you'll be able to achieve and not your competitors. And that's where you decide to be a first mover, adopting this technology, because you understand the converse. If your competitor is the first mover instead, then what actually happens is, they're getting all their links page one, they're kicking you off page two, off page one, onto page two, maybe on page three, and fortifying their position so you can basically never get on page one again. Taking all the slots, turn up social search, so you're basically become unfindable. And then we're actually, building up that massive gap AI backend keyword mindshare way ahead of you, maybe to big enough where you can never even catch up. And what actually happens is, for you to compete, you would actually have to rederive S cubed methodology, or actually derive it yourself for the first time. You would never actually be 100% confident you've derived it correctly. And then you'd have to equal our execution every single day. And then if you did that, you'd simply be maintaining the gap me and your competitor have already built up against you, because we'd still be executing it every day. So in order to close that gap, you'd have to out execute us, 2 or 3x every single day to begin pulling it back, to like back-end AI keyword mindshare momentum from me and your competitor back towards yourself. But again, you wouldn't have 100% confidence even putting in the time to do that, because you would never actually know if you've derived this technology correctly in the first place. And you're saying like, dude, who would even have 80 hours per day to do all this anyways? So you decide, screw that. You've decided you're going to be the first mover of your city. You decide you don't want to miss out on this. So if that's you, shoot us a DM. Our DMs are currently closed. The hospital is currently closed to new patients. But if you want, but when we do open, no, even if you want to contact us, you cannot. Even if you want to work with us right now, you cannot. But when we do open the hospital for new patient intake, it will be announced. Shoot us a DM then, and then we will see if you qualify for utilizing our S cubed methodology.